In Maryland, security is taken seriously. Officer Miller has just been called in as a backup. He runs the city's drug squad. These men have just stopped a suspect on Route 70, the highway linking Washington and Baltimore.
For this scam, just based off of...
They believe this man is a dealer, but they're yet to find any proof.
Is it on you? Check to see if it's in my pocket.
Officer Miller is inspecting the vehicle.
It's indicative that she had something in here at some point and ripped the end of the bag off and hid it, because that was stuffed in here like this. At times it can be difficult because that was found right under here. So if they go to buy a small amount like this, it really could be anywhere within the car.
Soon after, a bag of narcotics was found. Enough to send him to prison for 10 years.
Mix it with both heroin and fentanyl because fentanyl is so much stronger. If you were to go to Baltimore City today and buy this much drugs, you're looking at probably $3,000 at least. Yeah, I got you.
Warden's essential booking where he'll be charged for possession and possession with intent to distribute narcotics.
In France, the young man would be taken to the police station to be interviewed in the presence of a lawyer. Not in Maryland. Here, he'll go straight to prison. The city of Frederick has invested more than $6 million into their prison. It's one of the most sophisticated in the country. Everything is digitalized.
Thanks, guys.
The defendant now joins the ranks of many other prisoners, around 36,000 of them across the state. Compared to the number of inhabitants, that's 5 times more than in France. In Maryland, zero tolerance is the new normal. Baltimore, the state's largest city, is one of the most dangerous in the country, with an average of 1 death per day. Since Donald Trump's election, Maryland has become firmly Republican. And crime policy has gotten tougher. Aggressive arrests, heavy sentences.
20 years, straight off the jump for a fight. I almost just devastated. And I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it.
One man embodies this tough stance.
Hey guys.
Sheriff Chuck Jenkins, a hardcore conservative. He tracks criminals like a soldier in war.
My thoughts basically are kind of like the gladiator. You take the other guy into the arena and you kill him.
His prison has a zero-tolerance policy.
Just kind of keep it down while we're in here, please.
Even the biggest crooks, like gang leader Blake, are put in their place.
If they break you down on the mental aspect.
An intense regime that has provoked revolts in the past.
Sometimes they'll hide knives in the spine there.
Correctional officers like Cornish have to watch their backs.
If you take the bump and put a tub right there.
Inmate accused of killing a corrections officer at the state prison in Jessup.
These are the toughest prisons in the United States.
We decided to use plexiglass because plexiglass won't set off a metal detector.
A coveted glimpse into the prisons of Maryland and their limits.
The sheriffs think that they're in control, but they really have no idea. They're not in control.
Encapsulating Maryland's stance on crime, the Frederick County Prison, a high-security facility with double-braced barbed wire, windows few and far between, countless cameras to track the inmates' every move, and a yellow line that the prisoners mustn't cross under any conditions. The tough restrictions even extend to clothing, with inmates wearing striped uniforms as practiced long ago. This strict no-nonsense regime can be attributed to one man, Chuck Jenkins, proud to be sheriff and warden of the prison.
Even me. Everybody going into the jail is scanned for contraband and weapons.
Chuck walks the corridors of the prison every Monday morning to make sure everything is in order.
Good to see you.
Hey, guys. How y'all doing? No street arrests? We have about 325 inmates here at the jail.
Means how many per day?
Each day, well, it varies. On average, like you said, today there's about 3 came in. On any given day, probably 10 or 12 is probably a busy day.
To manage this flow of prisoners, the sheriff has invested $500,000 on this state-of-the-art system, which allows guards to monitor the slightest movements of the prisoners in real time.
You can kind of compare this to one of these boards in an airport that shows you incoming and departures of flights. Well, this is the same thing for inmates. It basically tells their status, where they're located, where they're going to go, where they're going to be, whether or not they're in their cell, whether there's any movement within the facility. So if you see it just refreshed there just a second ago.
Right.
What is the yellow up there, Mike?
The yellow is laundry.
Okay, all right, gotcha.
This is
Yellow for laundry, red for the kitchen, green for visits, and white when they're in their cell. In one quick glance, the guards know who is where. The prisoners must always wear a badge that detects their entry and exit at each door.
Nobody during my tenure as sheriff, no. Matter of fact, I think it was 1992 or 4.
I'm pretty sure it's 92.
Okay.
Not a single escape in 35 years. The sheriff sees this as a personal achievement. Unlike a classic prison, inmates here are not housed in one large building able to see each other regularly. Instead, they are sectioned off into around 10 cells per block. This limits any trafficking. One could say a prison within a prison.
Hey guys, do me a favor, just kind of keep it down while we're in here.
There are no large cafeterias like in other penitentiaries. Meals are served directly to each cell. This prevents any possible fighting. As some prisoners have tried to pose as others, officers check their badges at least 3 times a day.
Give your ID. All right. I'll check for each inmate's ID. As I do that, I'll check off the name on the roster. The server will then provide the inmate with a tray. With the ID and roster, too, we can verify if there's anything, altercations, anything like that. We're observing, too, with the inmates that come up to the block.
3 times a day, every day, without exception, inmates must be kept in check. In the high-security block of the prison, cells are searched several times a week. Each personal belonging is examined, even clothing.
Sometimes these inmates end up with having 4 or 5 pairs of pants when they're only allowed 3. So they have a certain number of socks are allowed up to 7 pairs.
This is Blake's cell. At 33 years old, he has already spent a decade in prison. He's checking that all his photos are still there after the search, including those he discreetly placed above his bed.
We got to try to keep it out of sight. If they see it, then they can take it, and we won't get it back. So
Blake is no angel. He was found guilty of armed robbery in 2009. He is housed in the high security block because he's a member of the Black Guerrilla family, an African-American gang that is one of the most powerful in the country, who are involved in a wide range of criminal activity, including pimping, drug trafficking, and even kidnapping. They are well known both on the streets and in prison. On this CCTV footage from a few years ago, gang members can be seen confronting members from a rival gang. Fights without mercy that are sometimes fatal. Blake is one of the leaders of this movement. Therefore, he can't keep anything in his cell that could be a weapon.
We don't have real pens, we have flex pens. You can't do any damage with it, you know. If you try to hurt someone, it'll just bend. We don't have real toothbrushes. We have little miniature ones, and they're only, you know, it's this big, so we can't fashion it into any type of weapon. And here, I can never go on another block. If I go on another block here, it's an escape charge. If they break you down on the mental aspect that they have you, you know, and in a lot of cases that's true. As long as we can't have no music here. And for a lot of us, music was our life. That's how we relate to people, situations, things like that. And here you can't listen to music. It's not allowed, it's not acceptable. We write to them, we ask them for it, they say no.
They don't even have the right to listen to music. This, for Blake, is racial discrimination. He uses his time on camera to speak out against Sheriff Jenkins.
Fuck them. I hate them. I hate this jail. I hate the sheriffs. They hate us, you know? I think they racist. It's different out here. Like, for a person who gets caught with a handgun and some drugs out here, if you're black, you're going to prison. If you're white, they're gonna give you a drug program.
There's no reason to doubt Sheriff Jenkins, as he's a celebrity here in Maryland. His zero-tolerance policy has led to his re-election to his post as sheriff for the past 12 years. It's worth mentioning that he has some mentors.
This is a picture of Russell Crowe in the movie Gladiator. And I love that movie because my thoughts basically are kind of like the Gladiator. You take the other guy into the arena and you kill him. That's how I win elections. I walk him into the arena and I come out victorious. I like a hard fight. And I don't know, I like the movie Gladiator. It's kind of like me. It's stoic and tough, and yeah. This picture is a little bit of a story behind it. So that's me at the age of actually 2 years old. Our current sheriff, Chuck Jenkins, knew he wanted to be sheriff 50 years ago. To me, being the sheriff was probably the most honorable thing that could have happened.
The sheriff is proud to say he is a Republican. A true believer in Donald Trump and his repressive policies. He was even invited to the White House in February 2018, accompanied by other Republican sheriffs.
They don't believe in what we believe, but we have together done something very special.
Maryland was particularly sensitive to Donald Trump's speeches. This was the first time in 15 years that this little northeastern state voted Republican. This is because living conditions have deteriorated more than ever over the past 10 years. Less so in Frederick, as it's a wealthy city, but in Baltimore, for the past few decades, the city was prospering thanks to its port. But today, it's becoming poorer and poorer. People are leaving the city center due to increased criminal activity. The number of life sentences declared in Maryland is rising dramatically. There are 40 times more than in France. So, what to do with all these criminals? Just a few miles from Baltimore, Jessup State Prison, managed by the Governor of Maryland instead of Sheriff Jenkins. 3,600 inmates are held here, murderers, robbers, rapists, all serving long sentences and watched very closely.
Corner smash on eyes, I post myself, Officer Amadi conducting yard check.
Cornish has been a corrections officer at Jessup for 5 years. Every morning she checks the yard before allowing the inmates to enter.
You could find a glove that maybe the worker set out that may have drugs in it from, you could find weapons out here. A lot of times in the windows, outside the window, they're in the cell, and the inmate comes to the cell and they may retrieve something that way while they're in the yard.
Even behind bars, inmates continue their criminal activity.
Empty.
Cornish's search is interrupted by a message on the radio. Apparently, there's a problem inside the prison.
Something happening within the facility, so the officers have to attend to the situation. So they will shut down yard and gym so that the officers can do the detail.
A fight has broken out in a corridor. The emergency protocol is employed. All prisoners must now return to their cells, and some are reluctant. Yard time is cancelled for today. One of the staff's greatest fears is riots breaking out. Riots are common in American penitentiaries and are often aggressive. They usually start as a fight between rival gangs, which escalate, sometimes with dramatic consequences.
Now new this morning, a 43-year-old prisoner stabbed to death.
Police are investigating at the maximum security facility in Jessup.
Three inmates have been killed over the past 4 years at Jessup Prison, so the warden took the fight that happened today very seriously. He ordered an extra cell search.
Be safe and watch each other's back. Remember, if something happens, observe, back up, observe, call for assistance, and then when you call, we'll come and we'll support you. Make sure you spread it out across the floor so that you're not just bunched in a corner.
All right, let's get them out of here.
Female on the pause, female on the 10.
Cornish and her colleague announced their arrival in the men's block.
Malady.
There are 20 cells and 40 inmates in the block they're about to search. The inmates aren't too happy about this surprise inspection.
Sometimes they'll hide knives in the spine there.
Bathroom. If you take the bunk and put a tub right there.
MCIJ, there's violence everywhere. But at the same time, I feel and believe that the officers will have control, where they do feel safe, where not everybody's walking around, if I'm right, Kamalafi, where they're not walking around with a knife.
Weapons are found by officers on a daily basis. They're kept here, far from the inmates, in an administration office.
This is a piece of metal that was fashioned into a weapon that has a point to it. And so all of these are inmate-made weapons. These actually came from the light fixtures that were inside of the housing units.
if he was selling it to a gang member or selling it to somebody who needed a weapon, he could probably make $50 or even make $100 for this weapon, because this weapon would actually kill somebody.
In an attempt to stop this weapons dealing, officers installed this metal detector. But some prisoners have already found a way around this by making knives with glass or even plastic.
They got smart and decided to use plexiglass because plexiglass won't set off a metal detector. Some of them are actually found on the inmate themselves, hidden in their pocket, in their pants, in their coat, their rectum.
All the officers here know that one of their own was murdered with a weapon like this. His name was David McGuinn. He was 42 years old, and in 2006 he was stabbed 10 times by 2 inmates while doing his nightly rounds. At Jessup, neither the officers nor the prisoners are completely safe. And the women's section is no less violent. Today, 43-year-old Natasha is worried.
You see Shamir? I can't find her nowhere.
Chamal is her daughter.
I cannot find Shamir anywhere.
Both have been serving their sentences in the same prison for the past 12 years.
I'm sorry, Bodie. Did Shamir come down from up top yet? Oh, you see Shamir?
Jessup is the only female prison in the state. The most serious criminals eat alongside the ordinary inmates. Sometimes things get out of hand.
And nobody wants to be, like in a room with somebody who, mass murdered or whatever. You have to check everybody out. You never know what everybody's here for.
Yesterday, yet another argument escalated with a prisoner ending up in hospital.
I've been waiting for you for hours.
Chamal was just talking to another inmate for longer than usual.
All right.
You didn't think I was coming?
You would have been here normally. I'm so used to you picking me up now or being right there.
Natasha and Chamal, a mother and her daughter, a rather unusual pair in prison. The women broke a man's legs, a violent outburst that left Natasha with 28 years in prison and Chamal with 20.
In November of 2007, several teens who attacked 44-year-old Gregory Simmons and beat him so badly.
It all started with an argument between a neighbor and one of their cousins. The fight escalated, with several dozen people joining in, including Chamal and her mum. They violently hit one of the men in the opposing camp before beating him up. He will be disabled for the rest of his life.
Lord, thank you for this food we're about to receive, for the nourishment of our bodies. Bless the hands that prepared it, bless the less fortunate. In Jesus' name, amen.
12 years later, Natasha and her daughter are still paying for this moment of violence. Chamal was only 16 years old when she was sent to prison. She has grown up here.
I look out for my daughter because I know it's a lot of misguided kids here. They come here and they don't have people look out for them and they end up doing a whole bunch of crazy stuff, drugs. No, she doesn't have an opportunity, and not that I would let her. I'll be on her back. I'm kind of a stalker. It's still dangerous because some people just don't care. You have some people who just don't care, and like I said the other day, the ladies were fighting and they had to go out to the hospital because one stabbed the other and the other hit the other with a lock or something like that. I mean, it's not even like regular little cat fight arguments. They are trying to hurt you.
And the situation is bad, but it's still comforting for her to be here and
go through this with me, so I gotta go through it by myself. I'm stealing this for her. She likes yogurt. And they search, so I gotta put it in my bra.
Inmates are not allowed to take food away with them, but Natasha is an exceptional case, as she has shown exemplary behavior over the past 12 years. So the guards are a little more lenient with her.
And I already got this.
Natasha even got permission to decorate her cell how she likes. It's definitely the most stylish cell in the prison, 86 square foot shared with her cellmate.
If you look at another cell, it doesn't look like my cell. Like this stuff, I made this to give it a little design. My friend painted that picture for me, and I hung that up there. In a prison, you know, it's hard trying to, you know, be comfortable. Like when you decorate and, you know, make things pretty and nice colors in your cell, at least, you know.
You feel better.
Yeah, you feel better. Like I have
One other saving grace, her makeup bag. It doesn't seem like much, but here eyeshadow and lipstick are as valuable as gold.
Well, I had those for 4 years. 4 years ago, they cut the makeup off. And that's when everybody was like, oh, I have to hold on to what I have. Because when it's gone, it's gone. So you want to feel like a woman. You don't want to look like, you know, whatever. You want to do your hair, you know, you try to do your hair and your lips, so you want to look nice. Seen this in the magazine.
Natasha's most valuable treasure is hidden under her bed, with the officer's blessing.
I've been here so long that when I was home, I lost a lot of my stuff. Trying to make a new, like, book for her for when she, you know, that she can have. So that's her when she was a baby, me and her. She looked like me now, right?
This secret album will be given to Chamal on the day she gets out. Memories of the good times before prison.
You're gonna make me sad. Don't make me sad. That she doesn't have these things, you know what I'm saying? And so I just wanted her to have, you know, pictures of herself. We lost so much. And this is an ugly picture of her. She hates it. But I love it. Oh no. This is why you don't wear makeup at times like this.
If she had committed this crime in France, Natasha and her daughter would have already been released. But this is Maryland.
I got 25 years for the assault and 3 years prior for a weapon, and they gave me 28 because I had a record. But to give her 20 years straight off the jump for a fight, I almost devastated. And I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. They're tough. And they're very tough. They need to be more specific. And I know some people deserve tough on crime, but you can't judge everyone by, you know, what some people do. I grew up in a place where, you know, people fight all the time, but they fight with their hands. You know, they get in the fights, they get smart and stuff like that, and, you know, you beat up my sister, I'll beat you up. You know, you touch my younger brother, I'm gonna beat you up, stuff like that.
But Natasha and her daughter can see the light at the end of the tunnel. They have hope.
I'm fat.
They have applied for early release. Will they be accepted? Statistically, they have a 1 in 4 chance. Maryland's justice system is one of the strictest in the country. However, petty crime hasn't reduced. With the exception of Frederick County, jurisdiction of the famous Sheriff Jenkins, Here, he is showing off his latest toy, half car, half tank. Bulletproof windows, steel body. The vehicle can withstand a grenade explosion. It's even used by the army in war zones.
Get ready to go.
But how can a military vehicle reduce crime?
I think it's to show the public what we have, to show them that we have the right equipment that it takes to protect them. I think it shows that we're a strong agency and we do everything we can to protect the public. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Don't you think it's a little too much?
No, not in today's world, no. And the reason I say that is if you look at the Orlando nightclub shooting a couple years ago in Florida, and if you look at the terrorist attack in San Bernardino, California, it was this type of vehicle that stopped those two attacks.
The sheriff is also convinced that his car could help to fight against drug trafficking.
And they basically said, we don't come to Frederick to break the law and to sell drugs because we know in Frederick County you guys don't mess around. So that message is out there.
This military beast comes with a hefty price tag, $300,000. So where did the sheriff source this kind of money?
Everybody knows this was paid for not with tax dollars, but the proceeds from illegal drugs and some of the money that we get for housing ICE detainees.
In fact, profit and prison go hand in hand for the sheriff. 11 years ago, he set up a detention center in the heart of the prison, where he houses illegal immigrants. The state pays $90 per day for each immigrant that's locked up, more than double what they cost to house. Chuck Jenkins therefore earns $1.8 million a year from the county prison thanks to these illegal immigrants. He is convinced they are all criminals.
In every country in the United States, illegal immigration is a problem. Because people come into this country illegally, they commit crimes against American citizens in their own immigrant communities. It's a problem for us locally, it's a problem nationally, and my decision was to be a part of the solution.
The sheriff didn't permit us to film the illegal immigrants that he proudly keeps locked up, but we soon understand why. Secretly filming from a corridor, we capture 4 immigrants. And if you look closely, they are just teenagers.
Pictures here, they had some inmates on there. You don't have to edit some of that.
Minors dressed in uniform, in the same prison as adults. Both in France and the US, this is illegal. But this isn't a first in the sheriff's prison. We got our hands on a letter written by the Office of the Public Defender a year ago. Even back then, it accuses the sheriff and his staff of housing minors illegally. Frederick Prison's current practices subject juvenile detainees to harm in violation of the Prison Rape Elimination Act and the 8th Amendment prohibition against cruel and unusual punishment. A year later, and nothing has changed. The sheriff is still illegally incarcerating minors in the county prison.
People misunderstand why I make the decisions I make. Listen, I love this country. I love America. I love this county. I love our quality of life, and I don't want to see it go away or taken away.
Sheriff Chuck Jenkins has in fact made an impact. Since his election 12 years ago, the number of burglaries and robberies has fallen by 20% in the city. Thanks to his large budget, he was able to double the number of police officers.
Hey, Sarge, how you doing? How's everybody?
Once or twice a week, he comes to speak to them in their briefing.
Thank you guys for doing the job you're doing out there. You guys are asked to do a lot in this county. You're asked to be everywhere, every sporting event. The schools want you. The community events want you. The library everybody wants that body armor and that gun, but they don't want to pay for it, right?
At Jenkins's request, patrolling and unannounced stop and searches have increased.
Do you have anything in the car, any stolen property, anything like that?
And the number of arrests has increased too, with a lot of violence. Like this scene here, filmed on the CCTV camera in a Frederick store. A heroin dealer is on the floor, getting punched by an officer who arrived as reinforcement. He received 11 punches in total to the face. The officers involved will have nothing to worry about. At Frederick Prison, the sheriff's treasure, pride is placed on its tough reputation. However, we caught up with Blake, one of the leaders of the Black Guerrilla family gang. Although watched closely, the inmate seems very calm.
They think I'm a dangerous individual. I think it's just because I'm smart, and they don't expect me to be that smart.
Despite the sheriff's precautions, he perhaps underestimated this prisoner and his gang. Blake claims he can get around the guards' surveillance.
The sheriffs think that they're in control, but they really have no idea. They're not in control.
What do you say that?
You know, just like any other jail, it's corrupt. So COs, correctional officers, some of them work for us, some of them don't. It's all about money.
Is Blake just showing off in front of the camera? We couldn't be sure. His gang has been involved in a number of corruption cases in Maryland over the past decade. And some of them are hard to believe.
Gang leader continued his testimony today in a federal jail corruption.
4 years ago at a Baltimore jail, Tavon White, the head of the Black Guerrilla family, set up an alcohol, drug and cell phone trafficking ring within the prison itself. What was shocking was that in order to do this, he managed to bribe 4 female officers. And they were offered a little more than money. All of them fell pregnant, infatuated by this bad boy character, a Casanova technique that may have been copied by others. A few weeks after our first shoot, Blake had been released on parole for good behavior. He settled in one of Baltimore's working-class suburbs. When visiting this gang leader at home, he seems like a changed man. He's even found a job in construction.
I had to start over and I had to transfer everything from illegal to legal. So now I just keep track of paychecks, you know, for where I work at. They can't be no sketches or nothing like that.
He also has a new girlfriend, Tina. The couple met whilst he was in prison. Tina was a social worker there, working on his rehabilitation. Having relations with a prisoner is forbidden.
Yes, I did meet him while he was locked up. And believe it or not, this is like the first time anything like this has ever happened for me. Because on the normal, we talk about it all the time, I would have never dated anybody from prison. But that is something about Joseph that is different from any guy that I've ever talked to before.
But she accepts it and she understands. And more than that, she's a helping hand whenever I need it for anything.
Despite what he says in front of his girlfriend, the gang leader revealed to us that he has no intention of cutting off his criminal ties. However, since his release, he is under constant surveillance by the police, who conduct multiple patrols in his area. To escape them, he's found a rather original solution. He takes advantage of a rehabilitation program that he must participate in every day. He also takes advantage of the social workers' naive nature and their close, almost family-like relationship.
Love you too. Welcome back. Welcome back.
How did he behave for now?
He's doing well. He's doing well. He just got back, so I'm hoping that, you know, he gets something out of the program that allows him to reintegrate back into society. You know, employment. I think he's trying to get married, you know, so get his life back so he doesn't go back to where he came from. So it's time to get started.
Time for class.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Lucky for Blake, this meeting takes place in a drug rehabilitation centre. The law bans police officers from installing any sort of listening equipment. So this is the perfect spot to contact his gang without police interference.
I can come here and know that there's no police involvement, you know what I'm saying? Know that I'm not being recorded or being videotaped or being watched because it's illegal. Oh, what up, bro? Shut up.
In reality, he takes advantage of the centre to manage his illegal activities via telephone. Today, in front of our camera, he dealt with a rather delicate issue. A dealer in his gang had a run-in with a rival gang. Blake was giving him instructions.
What did he say about that situation when a blood nigga shot at him and he shot back at Rizzo?
You already know when it comes to that, I don't mix words and I don't let niggas think something that ain't real. If he start doing stupid shit, I'm gonna cut his ass loose and whatever happened, happened. But I told him, if he chill, I will back him all the way if he chilling.
Yeah, man, I don't know what the fuck Chaz think he doing, right? But you make sure that he know that you run that shit out there, bro. Not him. You run that shit.
All right, bet.
Blake has no intention of going completely clean. Even if he wanted to, the gang would find him. It's one of the most powerful gangs in the country, and they're involved in over 100 murder cases every year.
You think that you are gonna come back in prison?
Nah, I don't think I'm gonna let them catch him. I think they're gonna have to kill me this time. I'm not going back.
Back at Jessup prison in the women's block, Natasha and her daughter dream of turning the page on their criminal past and also to be granted early release like Blake. Natasha earns $120 a month in this workshop, sewing flags for the American government. The irony of prison life in the US.
We're gonna have to do inventory. Sexes! How many hats did you need? One?
Just one.
Did you damage the other one out?
Not yet. I'm going to. I gotta write it in the computer.
Okay. When you work here, you have to be a certain type of inmate. Like, you can't have a certain type of charge because they use tools, you know, dangerous tools in here, so. And when you work here, people recognize that, you know, you're not only changing, but you're trying to better yourself.
Thanks to her exemplary behavior, she hopes to be released at the same time as her daughter, who received a shorter sentence.
I work harder to save money so that when she goes out, you know, in the next 3 weeks when she goes home, that, I mean, because we don't have, like, too many people who's going to be like, here, this. She's going to have to, you know, work hard, too. So she works hard and I work hard. We both work hard to prepare her for going out in the world.
Natasha is optimistic as she's heard rumors. Her lawyer confirmed that her application for parole has a very good chance of being granted.
I'm ready to go see Shamir.
Once her workday is over, it's back to being mom. Chamal has been studying Spanish for 2 years to get her international business diploma. Her mum helps her with her homework.
Who made this?
Me.
On this side?
Huh?
You made this on the computer? All right. CHEQUE. De 200. From Euro. I've taken this class before. I've taken Spanish, so if I can help her, I'll try. She's really smart now. She's taking over. She's gonna have to help me.
Both women know that judges are more lenient with inmates who follow educational courses. Chamal has never experienced the real world of work. She grew up behind bars. Will she know how to adapt?
I think it'll be tough on her, for one, because she's coming from prison, and, you know, two, because she has to work 10 times harder.
It's already hard for women to get jobs now, good jobs, still after all this time. Now it's gonna be even harder. But I'm gonna do it.
And she's not coming back to prison. She's not, so we gotta be careful. We're prepared for that.
In 3 weeks, they will find out what has been decided. The judge will deliver the results of their early release request. Sheriff Jenkins and his voters' dream model is made up of well-behaved inmates who don't recommit offences.
All right, everything? I'm doing well, doing
I
well.
listen to you on the radio all the time.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you agree or disagree?
I agree.
All right, good.
This Sunday, he was hosting a very special bingo night, one that only happens in the US.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to all the early birds tonight. So let's give away some money on the first King Tut.
This bingo doesn't offer the typical prizes like holidays or TVs. In Maryland, the most wanted prizes are rifles and shotguns.
Dad, you can take that out, hunt anywhere out west, anything, walk in North America. The one that's of most value is the Remington Bolt Action 700 BDL. It's probably the most expensive on the table. Probably about $900. I mean, it's just
This popular event attracts more than 600 people every year.
I'm thinking off of that barn down there.
Hunters, families, even teenagers. A deeply conservative America. Michelle is one of the participants of the bingo, a mother and hunter who rarely misses the annual event.
Actually, I am, only because a group of the guys that I used to work with bet me that I would never shoot a deer without crying. And I wanted to prove them wrong. So I got my license and I went out and I have shot 2 deer. It's very peaceful and it's actually very relaxing.
Last year, Michelle won a prize. So this year, she's not only participating for herself.
My son wants a camouflage gun. If I win with a holder, this will be what I choose.
For a gun or $350 store credit, the winning holder is $2,600. $2,600 is a winner.
Aside from their love of weapons, these Americans share an unwavering admiration for their sheriff.
He protects families, he protects the country, the county. Yes, he does a very super job.
He's for people like us that obey the law and, we do a good job. And especially like coming up here and doing this kind of thing. Sheriff Jenkins is a great guy. He stands for what we believe in.
These Americans have a very specific vision for their country, one without unwanted foreigners.
If you're not here legally, you're transported out.
I think a wall would be a great thing. I'm not going to say that on camera, but it'd be a great thing.
Amongst his most fervent supporters is the sheriff's own son. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree with this one, as he has just joined the police force.
It's pretty rewarding to be able to go out and help people and everything, and it's a fun job to have, to be out in the community, talk to a lot of people, and try to make a difference.
Blue ticket, winning holder is 100. 100 is a winner.
Michelle's number has just come up.
I just won.
Congrats.
Thank you.
So,
you just said 100 isn't going to win.
You won.
I know. Hey, the red pen.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for your service to the country, for everything you've done. All the veterans, stand up. Big hand.
So goes the life of Sheriff Jenkins, and so goes Maryland's security policy. Since our shooting, 2 months have passed. Natasha and her daughter Chamal received the judge's decision. Their request for early release was denied. They can't reapply for several years. How will they survive in such a harsh world? Blake ended up marrying Tina, but he still hasn't left his gang. For the time being, he's not on the police's radar, but for how long? In Maryland, 1 in 2 inmates will return to prison. A statistic that Sheriff Jenkins chooses to ignore in his meetings. His popularity is rising by the year. He hopes to run for governor soon.